Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are going to discuss the Sorcerer changes and how it will affect your build in the next DLC. I'm Alcast from alcasthq.com. Make sure to subscribe and don't forget to ring the bell. Both PvE and PvP builds will change quite a bit because there has been a lot of changes actually. Not necessarily because of class changes, but because of changes from other skill lines. Like in the Mage's Guild, you have Entropy, which is really strong damage over time effect now. Or you have Consuming Trap, which is very powerful on Magicka and Stamina builds. Also, please keep in mind, this is still PTS week 1. In general, you will see a DPS increase, single target wise, and a small AoE DPS reduction. But yeah, it's really not that big of a deal. Looking at the changes, it mostly affects Magicka Sorc. Stamina Sorcerer is really powerful. Like when you actually look at the target dummy, it's one of the higher ones at the moment because you have Consuming Trap now. But it still lacks class identity. I hope Sauce will address that sooner or later. Because after all, we want to play the class and not the weapon skill lines necessarily. But anyway, that's for another patch, I guess. Looking at the changes, Dark Magic. So they decreased the cost of this ability and its morphs to 2,970 from 3,510. So it will cost less, but they also reduce the damage. Now don't worry, Crystal Frag will still do the same damage because it went from 20% to 33% increased damage. So there is a small change because they wanted to reduce the damage a little bit of the Crystal Blast morph because it's AoE damage. Now, a bigger thing, especially for Magicka Sorcs, their shield. So they reduced the shield size of this ability and the Empowered Morph by approx 18% and increased the cost of this ability and the Hardened Morph to 4,320. So a shield nerf and the cost increase, that's a double nerf basically. Hardened Ward got another shield nerf. So I'm not sure why this was really necessary. I think the shield was fine. I think they are trying to address shield stacking, but I don't think it's the right way to go about. Or maybe they just want to bring this shield in line compared to other shield abilities. But again, it's like they reduce the shield and increase the cost. It's two nerfs. I wish Sauce would just do one and not two at the same time, because you never really know how it will affect the builds. So yeah. A little bit unnecessary in my opinion, but it is what it is. Now, pet builds got hit quite hard, mostly because of the Winged Twilight. They will still be viable again. There is new dots that you can utilize, so don't worry too much. But just, you have to keep that in mind. You could also say pet builds have been overperforming a little bit, so the nerf was justified, but everybody has their own opinion. So let's see, the Unstable Familiar decreased the special ability of this Summon and the Volatile Familiar morph to 2,808 from 3.5k, so it's cheaper now. Increase the damage per tick by approximately 8% of the base ability, but reduce the damage per tick of Volatile by approximately 3%. So it's a small increase and then again a small nerf, but it's really a minor change, I guess. The Clan Fear, they reduced the healing by 14%, so when you use this with a Sorc tank build, you actually could get in huge heals. Not really a lot of people use this morph. I think it should be reworked completely, so I'm not sure why they just changed it. Probably just because they're trying to standardize things and it overperformed, but yeah. Now here is where it gets quite hefty. The Twilight. The Zap and Kick attack from the Twilight and its morphs will now do the same damage to help reduce volatility in performance. Basically, they changed this so the server has less load. So it doesn't lag or doesn't cause that much lag anymore. It sucks that you have to do changes because of performance, but it's not the only thing. Like, there's a few other things that probably got changed because they're trying to reduce lag. But anyway, it is what it is. Reduce the damage of the Winged Twilight and the Twilight Matriarch by approximately 69% per hit. So that's crazy. That's a huge number. Looking at the Twilight Tormentor, reduce the damage dealt by the Twilight Sap and kick by approximately 35%. So the damage morph of the Twilight gets 2 nerfs. Now a lot of you might wonder, well, the last 4-5 patches they kept buffing, changing pets, and now they get the nerf again. I know it's kind of weird, but also please keep in mind, since Elsweyr there has been a developer team change at Source, so different people are calling the shots. So that's why it might be confusing. Well, they just buffed it the few last patches and now they nerf it again. Why? That's one of the reasons. I personally think it's a little bit a too heavy nerf at once. Why not just nerf it by like 30-40% and then go on from there? But I guess they did some calculations and came up with that. Again, a lot of people say this is overperforming, so maybe the nerf was justified. We will see. Now, here is where it gets very interesting for PvP builds, both Magicka and Stamina. Bolt Escape, this ability and its morphs stuns can no longer be blocked. So that's quite crazy, in my opinion. Because you can stun multiple enemies with Bolt Escape, and now they can't block it. For Magicka builds, for example, if you're using Shooting Star, you can drop a Shooting Star on the enemy, and by the time it almost impacts, you can use Streak. And he cannot block the hard-hitting ultimate, right? Because this goes through block, and he also cannot dodge roll it. So you're gonna have to face tank the damage nonetheless. I'm not sure why they made this change. Nobody really complained about Streak being like too weak, at least not of what I've heard. So yeah, this is very powerful. So like every Sorc build, both Magic and Stamina, you gotta run this basically, in PvP that is. They also reduced the ramping cost increase from using Bolt Escape over its morphs to 33% per stack from 50%. So if you use it in fast succession, the cost doesn't stack that fast anymore. So yeah, this is huge for PvP. Overload. There was a few hitbox fixes on dragons. There has been huge problems with dragons, not only Sorc but in general. Then apparently also the off-balance damage didn't always work with overload, so that's another fix. Lightning Splash. This is AoE damage, so they reduced the damage by 37%, but they also decreased the cost from 3.5k to 3k, as you can see here. So it's slightly cheaper now, but it also deals less damage. Liquid Lightning no longer increases in damage per rank and now lasts 9 seconds, ranking up to 12 seconds, so it lasts longer than before. So these are all the changes, very heavy Magicka focused, as you can see. Stamina Sorc is still kind of like the forgotten child, in my opinion. I do hope once they finished with their class audits that they actually start addressing the pain points. Because a lot of stem builds still suffer from like not having enough morph choices and things like that. So I hope they will address this at some point. Nonetheless, Stem Sorc pulls really high DPS numbers. Don't get me wrong, it's really strong. It just feels like identity-wise it feels really weak, especially in PvE. PvP might be a little bit different. Magicka Sorc will also do fine, especially because of the new dots like Entropy and Soul Trap and that stuff. When I'm talking about these, what I mean, just quickly showcasing you, this is on the live server. So this here is Soul Trap, the Soul Magic skill line, and Mage's Guild has Entropy. These two things got buffed a lot. So this is a Magicka dot, and this here actually scales. When you are a Magicka character, it deals magic damage. When you're a Stamina character, it deals physical damage, so it changes. And it deals a lot of damage. But once again, it still might get changed. If you have further questions about changes, and please also let me know in the comment section below what you think about these changes. You can also talk about other things, it doesn't have to be Sorc specific. Let me know how you feel. I know a lot of people think it's nerfs, 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 but in the end we will end up with more DPS. Trust me. If you have questions, you can always ask me when I live stream on twitch.tv/alcasthq. The builds will be updated on the website when the patch drops. I'm already doing a lot of testing and so on. Make sure to not forget to subscribe and hit the juicy like button. There is more videos you can watch. Thanks for watching and see you soon. Bye.